Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At this particular time, we are going to call a public meeting. 201 State and Dry Home, Louisiana, 70360. Notice, post 4/28/2022. Notice of public meeting. Public meeting will be held as follows, which is May 3rd, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the Turbo Parish School Board meeting room. Actually, right now, I'll have Ms. Soley call order and invocation. Before we have invocation, we'll have a moment of silence with Doc. Announcement.
Right now?
Yeah.
Please have a moment of silence for the following individuals who have recently passed away. Tanya Porsche, school paraprofessional at Legion Park Elementary. William Mason, retired school psychologist. Junius Duplantis, retired school bus operator. Thank you.
Please stand for our invocation and pledge. Lord, be with us during this meeting in dealing with the agenda at hand. May we treat each other's opinions with respect. May we learn how to reject ideas without rejecting people and share visions, although we may not share the same meanings. May this meeting be for each of us an opportunity to be servants to the people we represent. We humbly ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Soley. Item 4, roll call, please.
Mr. Michael Lagarde.
Here.
Mr. Gregory Harding.
Here.
Mr. Matthew Ford.
Here.
Mrs. Debbie Benoit.
Here.
Mrs. Stacy Solé. Here. Mr. Clyde Hamner.
Here.
Mr. Roger Dale DeHart.
Here.
Dr. Maybelle Trahan.
Yes, here.
And Mr. Dane Voisin.
Here.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Brunet. Item number 5, approval of minutes of the school board meeting on April 5th, 2022, and special school board meeting on April 19, 2022. The recommendation that the board approve the minutes of the school board meeting on April 5th, 2022, and a special school board meeting on April 19, 2022, as recorded.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Trahan,
Second.
second by Ms. Soley. Anyone in the audience would like to discuss the recommendation? Dr. Trahan,
No, sir.
Ms. Soley?
No, sir.
Any board member? Hearing none, so ordered. Old business 8, none. New business, set forth millage rate for 2022. I'll read the resolution in full detail. Recommendation that the board adopt the following resolution setting forth the millage rates for the regular school tax constitution and the special school tax maintenance of the entire school system, all effective for 2022. Resolution be resolved that the following millage are hereby levied on 2022 tax roll on all properties subject to taxation by Turbo Parish School Board.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hamner,
Second.
second by Dr. Trahan. Anyone in the audience would like to discuss this resolution? Calling public once, calling public twice, calling public third time. Mr. Hamner.
I'm just going to say that this same item is going to come up in the Finance Committee report later, and when I get to that, I'll skip it once the board takes action on this.
Dr. Trahan?
No, sir.
Any board member? Okay, I'll go on and read it. Be it further resolved that the proper administration officials of the parish of Terrebonne, State of Louisiana, be and they are hereby empowered, authorized, and direct the spread said tax as hereby set forth upon assessment roll of said parish for year 2022, and to make the collection of the tax imposed for on behalf of the tax auxiliary according to law, and that the tax hereof levied shall become permanent lien and privilege on all property subject to taxation as here set forth. And any collection therefore shall be enforced in the manner provided by law. At this particular time, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
All votes are in, no objections, everyone present.
Thank you, Ms. Brunei. Mr. Martin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to briefly comment on this, primarily for the benefit of the public. The school system is very appreciative to the taxpayers of Terrebonne Parish in the taxes that we collect to run the school district. That is our deepest appreciation and gratitude for that. I do want to point out, and this is not a pitch to change a thing, we're not asking for anything to be changed. This is approximately 9 meals that goes to education in Terrebonne Parish. The average meals in districts across Louisiana is 40. Whatever that means to you, that they have different meanings to different people, but we have the lowest millage rate of any district in Louisiana, and we are one of the highest achieving districts in Louisiana. So I think the school board can claim without any exaggeration, bang for the buck, the expression, that's happening in Terrebonne Parish. So I don't say that as a plea to engage with more taxes. That is absolutely not the intent. I just think the public should be aware that we are collecting 9 meals. Garbage collection's 11. The average is 40 for other districts. And our revenue per pupil is the lowest in the state of Louisiana, but our performance of our teachers and kids is among the highest. I just think that every time I get the opportunity to brag on our kids and teachers, I want to do that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I think I heard that speech several times before, so you must have practiced it.
And I
well.
may do it again sometime.
Item number 6, announcements. June 2nd through the 6th, Teacher Appreciation Week. Another graduation that was not put on the announcement, 5/4 at 7 p.m. It'll be the Indian graduation ceremony, and that'll be held at the Municipal Auditorium. 5/16, 6:30 p.m. military graduation ceremony. It'll be at a military museum. 5/16/20 Education Boss Week. 5/17, 5 p.m. Building Food Service Transit Committee, Finance and Southern Second 16 Committee, Executive Committee, Education Technology and Policy Committee. 5/18, 7 p.m. Adult Education Graduation, Humboldt Terrebonne Civic Center. 5/23, 7 p.m. Ellen Memorial High School Graduation, Humboldt Civic Center. 5/24, 7 p.m. H.L. Bourgeois Graduation, Humboldt Terrebonne Civic Center. 5/25, 7 p.m. South Terrebonne High School Graduation, Humboldt Civic Center. 5/26, 7 p.m. Terrebonne High Graduation, Humboldt Civic Center. 6/2, last day of school for students. 6/3, last day of school for teachers. And 6/7, 6 p.m. regular school board meeting. Item number 7, board committee reports. Item A, executive committee. Dr. Trahan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Executive Committee met in special session at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, April 6, 2022, in the boardroom of the school board office with the following members present: Mr. Harding, President, myself, Vice President, and Mr. Michael Lagarde. Also in attendance were Mr. Hamner, Mr. Ford, Mr. DeHart, Ms. Soleil, Mr. Voisin, Mr. Orgeron, Superintendent-elect, and Ms. Catherine Richard, Board Attorney. The meeting was called to order by motion of myself and seconded by Mr. Hardin. The Executive Committee voted to go into executive session to discuss the contract of the Superintendent-elect. By motion of myself and seconded by Mr. Hardin, the Executive Committee reconvened the special session at 5:55 p.m. with all members present. There being no further business to come before the Executive Committee, the meeting was adjourned at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Dr. Trahan. Item B.
We need a motion to accept, please.
Yeah, that's right. You just accept it.
A motion to accept this report of the Executive Committee? Moved by Ms. Soleil, second by Ms. Benoit. Any public comment? Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Thank you, Dr. Trahan. Item B, Education and Technology Committee, Ms. Benoit.
Thank you, Mr. President. Education, Technology, and Policy Committee met on Tuesday, April 19th, 2022 at 5 p.m. in the boardroom with myself present as chair, Mr. Matthew Ford as vice chair, and Dr. Maybelle Trahan as member. Also in attendance were Mr. Clyde Hamner, Mr. Roger Dale DeHart, Mr. Gregory Harden, Mr. Michael Lagarde, Ms. Stacy Soley, Mr. Dane Borzan, the superintendent, and also members of his staff. There were no recommendations at this committee. However, Ms. Ashley Barahona, Executive Director of Terrebonne Foundation for Academic Excellence, presented some information about grants. Mr. Talbot, Supervisor of Secondary Education, presented information regarding the Louisiana Music Association and District 7 choral, and also 2022 Louisiana Music Educators. He also presented information regarding Skills USA, and he introduced Mr. David McCormick as Emergency Medical Technician, teacher at South Terrebonne High School, and presented his students as well. Mr. Ford presented information regarding the addition of a curriculum specialist for performing arts, that is a coordinator position. And then Mr. Bubba Ogeron presented information regarding Terrebonne Parish School District's Lagniappe Learning Summer Program. There being no further business before the board, we adjourned the meeting at 6 p.m. Turn the meeting back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Benoit. Item 7C, building, food, and
President
service.
Harding, we need a motion to
Oh,
accept the report.
That's right. Oh, man, I'm going too fast now.
Moved by Mr. Ford,
Second.
second by Mr. Borzan. Public comment? Mr. Ford? Mr. Borzan?
No, ma'am.
Any board members? Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Benoit. Item number 7C, building, food, service, transportation committee, Mr. Vizan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Buildings, Food Service, and Transportation Committee met following the 5 p.m. Education Technology Committee on Tuesday, April 19, 2022, in the boardroom. All board members were in attendance, as well as Mr. Martin and members of his staff. Recommendation number 1, the committee recommends that the board accept the lowest bids received meeting all specifications on meats and frozen items for the 2022-23 fall session from Diamond Food Distributors, Inc., Jefferson, Louisiana, in the amount of $420,229.97, and Pond Food Corporation, Ponchatoula, Louisiana, in the amount of $337,554.99, funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund. So moved, Ms. Solé.
Second.
Second, Mr. Harding. Any public comments? Ms. Solé? Mr. Harding?
No.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 2, the committee recommends that the board accept the lowest bids received meeting all specifications on canned and dry goods for the 22-23 fall session from Diamond Food Distributors, Inc., Jefferson, Louisiana, in the amount of $268,372.90, and Pond Food Corporation, Ponchatoula, Louisiana, in the amount of $271,444.21, funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund. So moved, Ms. Solé.
Second.
Second, Dr. Trahan. Any public comments? Ms. Solé? Dr. Trahan?
No, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 3, the committee recommends that the board accept the lowest bid received meeting all specifications on milk products for the 22-23 school session from LaFleur Dairy Products, Inc., Houma, Louisiana, funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund. So moved, Ms. Solé.
Second.
Second, Mr. Harding. Any public comments? Ms. Solé, Mr. Harding?
No, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 4, the committee recommends that the board accept the lowest bid received meeting all specifications on fruit juice for the 22-23 school session from La Casange, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in the amount of $125,000, funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund. Nobody wants to play. Moved by Ms. Solé.
Second.
Second, Mr. Harding. Any public comments? Ms. Solé? Mr. Harding?
No, sir.
Other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 5, the committee recommends that the board accept the lowest bid received, meaning all specifications on fresh fruit and vegetables for the 22-23 school session from Capital City Produce, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in the amount of $107,000. Funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund.
So moved.
So moved, Dr. Trahan. Second, Mr. DeHart. No, I'm going to start stuttering here. Any public comments? Ms. Dr. Trahan, Ms. DeHart? Mr. DeHart, not Ms., so sorry. Any other board members? Any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 6, the committee recommends that the board accept the lowest bids received, meaning all specifications on supplies and disposables for the 22-23 school session from Centos Corporation, Thibodaux, Louisiana, in the amount of $17,946. Economical Paper and Janitorial, Harahan, Louisiana, in the amount of $348,473.42. Interboro Packaging Corporation, Montgomery, New York, in the amount of $1,674. And Lafayette Restaurant Supply, Lafayette, Louisiana, in the amount of $40,573.45. Funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund. So move, Mr. DeHart. Second, Ms. Solé. Any public comments? Mr. DeHart, Ms. Solé, other board members, any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 7, the committee recommends that the board approve the option to extend the current contract to provide linen services for the 22-23 school session from Centos Corporation, Thibodaux, Louisiana, in the amount of $15,500. Funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund.
So moved.
So move, President.
Second.
Second, Mr. DeHart. Any public comments? Mr. Harding?
No, sir.
That's renewable at the same price, correct?
Yes, correct.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. I'm on number 8. There's a lot of them. The committee recommends that the board approve the option to extend the current contract to provide concentrated detergents and related items for the 22-23 school session from Santa Tech Systems, Lakeland, Florida, in the amount of $54,372.50. Funds to be derived from the Child Nutrition Program Fund. So move, Ms. Solé. Second, Mr. Harding. Any public comments? Ms. Solé? Mr. Harding?
No, sir.
Board members? Any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 9. I was just checking to see if y'all paying attention. The committee recommends that the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications, for a warehouse truck from ITA Truck Sales and Services, LLC 2835, LLC 2835, Northwest Evangeline Thoroughway, Lafayette, Louisiana, in the amount of $105,430.32. Funds to be derived from the FEMA reimbursement. So move, Mr. DeHart. Second, Ms. Solé. Public comments? Mr. DeHart? Ms. Solé? Other board members? Any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 10, the committee recommends that the board accept the proposal meeting all specifications for land surveyor from Morrison P. Abear, Inc., 116 Venture Boulevard, Houma, Louisiana.
So moved.
So move, Mr. Harding.
Second.
Second, Dr. Trahan. Any public comments? Mr. Harding?
No, sir.
Dr. Trahan? Other board members? Any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 11. Committee recommends that the board authorize for purchasing department to advertise for requests for proposals for architectural services for the outdoor classroom play spaces project. Funds to be derived from ESSER 3 funds. So moved. Mr. DeHart. Second, Ms. Solé. Public comments? Mr. DeHart?
No.
Ms. Solé? Other board members? Any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 12, the committee recommends that the board authorize the purchasing department to advertise for requests for proposals for architectural services for the window replacement project at Legion Park Elementary School. Funds to be derived from ESSER 3 funds.
So moved.
Oh, now y'all messing with me. So move, Mr. Hamner. Second, Ms. Benoit. Any public comments? Mr. Hamner? Ms. Benoit? Oh, Mr. Hamner, you had a comment?
No, I just am glad that Legion Park's getting some attention. That's all I wanted to say.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other board members? Yes, sir. Mr.
Yeah,
Harden.
I concur with Mr. Hamlin. I think at one time I know he was the principal at that school, so.
Sure was. I'm glad you remember that. Many a
Yes, sir.
times you and I met in my office to discuss issues. Yep.
All right, any other board members? Any objections? Motion passes. Recommendation number 13, the committee recommends that the board receive and accept as presented the summary and recommendations of the Facility Strategic Task Force.
So moved.
So moved, Mr. Hamner.
Second.
Second, Dr. Trahan. Any public comments? Mr. Hamner? Right.
None at this time, no. I'm just glad that the study has been completed. It took a long time, a lot longer than it was supposed to take because of a year off of COVID and then a Hurricane Ida. But it's a good comprehensive study, and it gives a good framework for the rebuilding of Terrebonne Parish.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dr. Trahan?
Yes, I just want to express my sincere thanks to all of the community members, business members, parents, educators, board members, elected officials across the parish that have helped and were part of this facility study. It started way back in 2019, and we were interrupted by both COVID and Ida. We were just coming to an end right before Ida came along. We're getting ready to present it to the board when all of a sudden we had another detour, and we ended up being out for Ida. We have come to a conclusion, and it is some very good information. It will help lead us into the restoration and recovery of our parish. So I think the timing was fortunate in the creation and the putting together of the task force. I want to thank Ms. Benoit. She was president then, and she's the one that got us started on this path. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trahan. Any other board members? Ms. Benoit?
Yeah, I just want to say that, there's another aspect of this report that we didn't plan on, but that will be very useful to us. And as a seasoned grant writer, I will say that this application for FEMA funds and even CBDG funds that are so necessary for our rebuilding, this report will be an added benefit to that, because they will see that it's already been planned, that we do a lot of these improvements on the schools. And so I think that will end up being something positive for us to get a reimbursement for the things that we will do because of that report. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Benoit. Mr. Ford?
I'm looking through my paperwork. I don't see anything from this committee. And, I mean, I'm not trying to be nitpicky, but you guys are asking us to accept the report.
It was given to you once.
Yeah.
So it is that one? Okay, that's, all right. I didn't know if there was something different. I have it here in this binder, but I didn't know if there was something different. That's all I'm making sure.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Ford.
Okay.
Any other board members? I know it was a massive project and finally presented and accepted. And again, not to be repetitive, but thank everyone for their working tirelessly on this endeavor. And I think we're moving in the right direction. Thank you. Where are we now? Public, we went to that to, you want to speak, Mr. Martin? No? Okay. So I believe now we have to, any objections? Is that correct? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. And then Mr. Lerat met and talked about Mulberry Elementary. Mr. Griffith also came in from Hammerman and Gaynor with the IDA response update. Mr. Marco also from Volkert, and Mr. Poisson, supervisor of plant operations, also presented. There being no further business to come before the Building, Food Service, and Transportation Committee, the meeting was adjourned at 7:28 p.m. Mr. President, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Fazang. Item 7D, Finance and Showing the Second 16 Committee, Mr. Hamner.
I expect some quick motions, because if I don't get them fast, I'm going to give a long, long legislative update at the end
So
of the
moved.
meeting. All right, the Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee met immediately following the 5 p.m. Education, Technology, and Policy Committee and the Building, Food Service, and Transportation Committee meetings on Tuesday, April 19th, 2022, in the boardroom of the School Board office with the following members present: myself, Chairman, Mr. Michael Lagarde, Vice Chairman, and Ms. Stacy Soleil, Committee Member. Also in attendance were Mr. Greg Harding, President, Dr. Maybelle Trahan, Vice President, Mr. Dane Voisin, Mr. Roger Dale Dehart, Ms. Debbie Benoit, Mr. Matthew Ford, Superintendent Martin, and members of the staff. The meeting was called to order. Mr. Mark Felger, Laporte CPA, addressed the committee regarding the review of the audit report for fiscal year 2021. He stated the financial statements ending June 30th, 2021 received an unmodified opinion, which is the best possible rating. The committee recommends that the board receive the June 30th, 2021 Terrebonne Parish School Board audit report as presented.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Harding and seconded by Dr. Trahan. Any members of the public wish to address the audit report? Mr. Harding?
No, sir.
Ms. Trahan?
No, sir.
Any members of the board? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Mr. Hammer,
Yes, sir.
just like to brag on the board again. This is the 15th year in a row of an unmodified opinion. That's CPA talk for real good. When you said unmodified opinion, and I first heard that, I thought it was something bad. It's actually the highest rating you can get. So it's 15 years in a row of that. So the board should be complimented on that fiscal management.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. And the credit goes to the finance department and
Yes, sir,
the staff
absolutely.
over there because they keep impeccable books. They can tell you where every dime is spent. All right, recommendation number 2. Well, Ms. Catherine Gilbert, Director of Business Retention and Expansion of Terrebonne Economic Development Authority, addressed the committee regarding an industrial tax exemption requested by Gulf Island. The recommendation was that the committee recommends the board adopt the resolution as presented, granting the request of Gulf Island LLC. Moved by Ms. Benoit, seconded by Mr. Dehart. Any members of the public wish to address this? Ms. Benoit? Mr. Dehart?
No.
Any other members of the board? Mr. Ford?
I'm not going to speak much, but I will speak in opposition of this. Just like last year, whenever they came to the board, they were asking for a tax exemption, establishing that they would bring economic development and bring jobs to the area. And the day following our meeting, they actually laid off 40-plus people. Now, of course, they weren't forthcoming with that information, so I was a little disturbed at that. Also, a year ago, April 23rd, 2021, actually, Bollinger Shipyard acquired all Gulf Island's contracts, long-term contracts. So as far as the shipbuilding and the ongoing projects they had. So I'm wondering if this tax exemption is only for Gulf Island, or does it extend to Bollinger also on those contracts?
Only Gulf Island.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Any other members of the board wish to address this? Any objection to the motion? Noted, Mr. Ford. Next item on the agenda, Ms. Rebecca Bro, Chief Financial Officer, addressed the committee regarding the adoption of a resolution to support Cortec LLC and its participation in the industrial tax exemption program. The committee recommended that the board adopt the resolution as presented, honoring Cortec LLC contract and without penalty. Moved by Mr. Voisin.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lagarde. Thank you. Any members of the public wish to address this resolution? Mr. Voisin, Mr. Lagarde?
No, sir.
Any other members of the board? Mr. Dehart?
What does that mean without penalty? Can you clarify that for me?
I probably could.
Briefly.
It's not a new industrial tax exemption. It was, the company neglected to turn in some paperwork to the state, and they were going to deny it based on not receiving paperwork. Now, I couldn't go into detail on what that was, but we just supported them, saying that's between them and the state.
Right.
We don't care.
I just
That's
wanted to
about
make
it.
sure I was clear on it. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Ford?
Yeah, and when he came in front of committee, he was very forthcoming, and he admitted that he made a mistake and forgot to turn in the paperwork, so I support this resolution 100%. I think he's a good, solid businessman. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the board? Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes. Then there was the committee was addressed regarding the adoption of a resolution for the 22 millages. We handled that at the beginning of the meeting, so we can skip on down to recommendation number 5. The recommendation is that the board accept the lowest bid received meeting all specifications for a speech audio meter from Acousticom in Covington, Louisiana. Moved by Mr. Voisin and seconded by Mr. Dehart. Any members of the public wish to address this motion? Mr. Voisin, Mr. Dehart?
No, sir.
Any other members of the board? Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes. Ms. Dugard next addressed the committee regarding the renewal of a commercial surface lease on Section 16 lands. The recommendation is that the board, pursuant to revised statute 41:1217, extend the commercial service lease located in Section 16, Township 20 South, Range 15 East, generally known as the Bayou DeLarge Boat Launch, with Mr. Jamie V. Dehart, Jugs Landing, 3282 Bayou DeLarge Road, Terrio, Louisiana, 70397, for a period of 10 years beginning June 1st, 2022 through June 1st, 2032, with an annual lease rate of $9,000, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto. Wake up.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Solé.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lagarde. Any members of the public wish to address this? Ms. Solé, Mr. Lagarde.
No, sir.
Any other members of the board? Mr. Dehart.
Since the word Dehart came in this motion, I just wanted to make it public knowledge that it no conflict of interest to me, or it's a distant relative, the husband of this young lady.
Very good.
Thank you.
I was going to vote for it anyway. Any other members wish to address this? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Then there was Ms. Dugard addressed the committee regarding bids received for hunting and trapping leases. The committee recommends that the board accept the highest bids received, meeting all specifications for hunting and trapping leases on Section 16 lands for a 5-year period, beginning May 4th, 2022 through May 3rd, 2027, allowing the purchasing department to re-advertise those sections where no bid was received and are those sections in which leases were surrendered, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto, and the 2 leases are listed there for you.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Solé, seconded by Mr. Harding. Any members of the public wish to address this motion? Ms. Solé, Mr. Harding, any other members of the board? Any objection to the motion? Hearing no objection, the motion passes. Ms. Bro, Ms. Adam LaForte, the grant specialist, All South Consulting Engineers, and Ms. Dugard presented an update on the FEMA reimbursement process relative to Hurricane Ida. Some of that is attached. And next, Ms. Bro presented information on the monthly budget to actual comparison report and the sales tax collection reports. Those are both attached. Mr. President, there being no further business to come before the Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee, the meeting was adjourned, and I turn this meeting back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamner. Item 7E, Executive Committee report from April 19, 2022.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Executive Committee met immediately following the 5 p.m. Education, Technology, and Policy Committee, Buildings, Food Service, and Transportation Committee, and the Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee, Tuesday, April 19, 2022. In the boardroom of the School Board office with the following members present: Mr. Harding, President, myself, Vice President, and Mr. Lagarde. Also in attendance were Mr. Hamner, Ms. Benoit, Mr. Ford, Mr. DeHart, Ms. Soleil, Mr. Voisin, Superintendent Martin, Mr. Ogeron, Superintendent-elect, and Mr. Stanwood Duval, a Board Attorney, and Ms. Rebecca Brew, and members of the Superintendent's staff. The President Harding called the meeting to order. A partial report of the Executive Committee was presented to the Board at a special school board meeting, at a special school board meeting held on the 19th. The Executive Committee examined and authorized payment of invoices for the current month, including supplemental payroll and travel expenses. There were no committee member concerns. Are there any concerns this evening of any board member? There being no further business, excuse me, I need a motion to accept the report. Moved by Ms. Benoit.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hamner. Any public comment? Ms. Benoit? Mr. Hamner?
No, ma'am.
Any other board member? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. I return the meeting to you, sir.
Thank you, Doc. Item number A, Superintendent Agenda. Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first agenda item is a matter bearing upon acceptance of bids received. All of these next recommendations have gone through the committee to release the bids. We've got the bid results, but rather than wait to the next committee and then the following board meeting, we're bringing it directly to the board so we can proceed on it ASAP. The matter bearing upon acceptance of bid received for roofing services, the recommendation is that the board accept the bid meeting all specifications for roofing services from Norris and Boudreaux Contractors, LLC, 1600 Bull Run Road, Shreveville, Louisiana, for a 14-month period beginning May 4th, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023, with the option to renew in 12-month increments under the same terms and conditions upon mutual agreement with Terrebonne Parish School Board and Norris and Boudreaux.
Second.
Who moved? Mr. DeHart, second by Mr. Hamner. Anyone else would like to discuss their recommendation? Mr. DeHart.
Sir, thank you.
Mr. Hamner.
No, sir.
Any board member? Mr. Ford.
I just I'm just wondering if they have enough crews to handle more than one job at a time, or is it gonna be I know it's gonna be an ongoing thing, but
Yeah, and Mr. Ford, they will not be doing where it's the complete roof replacement. They will be doing interim repairs and that types of thing. That will be a bid project specifically, say for example, Evergreen. The roof replacement there would be out for a bid as a standalone item.
okay, thank you.
Any other board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Next, the matter bearing upon acceptance of bid received for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Houma Junior High. The recommendation is that the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Houma Junior High School in the amount of $159,156 from Orion Environmental Incorporated, 1506 Collegetown Drive, Hammond, Louisiana, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hamner, second by Mr. DeHart. Anyone else would like to discuss the recommendation? Mr. Hamner?
No questions.
Mr. DeHart? Any other board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Number 3, matter bearing upon acceptance of bid received for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Legion Park Elementary School. Recommendation, the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Legion Park Elementary School in the amount of $59,000 from number 1 Priority Environmental Services, 428 Daly Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hamner. Second by Ms. Soleil. Anyone else would like to discuss the recommendation? Mr. Hamner?
No.
Ms. Soleil? Any board member? Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
Number 4, matter bearing upon acceptance of bids received from abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Evergreen Junior High School. Recommendation of the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Evergreen Junior High School in an amount of $119,780 from Insulation Technologies, Inc., 120 Herman Drive, Belle Chase, Louisiana, and further authorize board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
Moved by Ms. Benoit. Second by Mr. Visor. Anyone else would like to discuss the recommendation? Ms. Benoit? Mr. Visor? Any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Number 5, matter bearing upon acceptance of bid received for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Dularge Elementary School. Recommendation, the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Dularge Elementary School in the amount of $2,800 from Zimmer S-Jet Services, LLC, P.O. Box 8485, Metairie, Louisiana, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
Moved by Mr. Ford and second by Mr. DeHart. Anyone in the audience would like to discuss the recommendation? Mr. Ford?
Just for the record, this is the old Dularge School, right?
No, sir, it's the current, it's the current ones being used, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. DeHart?
No.
Any other board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Number 6, matter bearing upon acceptance bids received in abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Oaklawn Middle School. The recommendation, the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at Oaklawn Middle School in the amount of $65,500 from number 1 Priority Environmental Services, 4028 Daly Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hamlin, second by Dr. Trahan. Anyone in the audience would like to discuss the recommendation? Mr. Hamlin?
No.
Dr. Trahan?
No, sir.
Any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Number 7, matter bearing upon acceptance of bid received for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida at H.L. Bourgeois High School. Recommendation, the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for abatement services in response to Hurricane Ida, H.L. Bourgeois High School in the amount of $165,000 from Gill Industries, 1718 Engineers Road, Suite B, Belle Chase, and further authorize board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
Moved by
Second.
Ms. Benoit, second by Mr. Hamner. Anyone in the audience would like to discuss that recommendation? Ms. Benoit? Mr. Hamner?
Yes, sir.
Or any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Number 8, matter bearing upon acceptance of the bid received for third-party air quality monitoring services in response to Hurricane Ida. The recommendation, the board accept the proposals meeting all specifications for third-party air quality monitoring services in response to Hurricane Ida from Intertech PSI, 724 Central Avenue, Jefferson, Louisiana, and Southern Environmental Management and Specialties, Choctaw Drive, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hamner, second by Mr. DeHart. Anyone else would like to discuss that recommendation? Mr. Hamner?
No, sir.
Mr. DeHart? Or any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Number 9, matter bearing upon the acceptance of bids received for STEM kits, that's for summer school this summer. That the board accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for STEM kits in the amount of $10 per kit from Central Creativity LLC, 442 North 6th Avenue, Laurel, Mississippi. Monies to be derived from ESSER 2 funds.
Moved by Mr. Ford, second by Mr. DeHart. Anyone else would like to discuss that, the recommendation? Mr. Ford? Mr. DeHart? Any board member? Are there? Yes. Ms. Solly?
Are these kits for summer school?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is it per student, per pair of students, per group of students? Per kid, okay.
Okay. Any other board member? Are there any objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
Next recommendation is that the board approve a family and medical leave in accordance with policy file F11.4A for Lisa Griffin, school bus operator in the Transportation Department beginning April 8th through May 7th, 2022 for medical.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Benoit, second by Mr. Hamner. Anyone in the audience would like to discuss the recommendation? Ms. Benoit? Mr. Hamner?
No, sir.
Any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
The next recommendation, the board approve a family and medical leave in accordance with policy file F11.4A for Yvonne Hollingsworth, school bus operator in the Transportation Department, beginning April 14th, 2022 through January 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Trahan, second by Ms. Soley. Anyone else would like to discuss that recommendation? Dr. Trahan,
No, sir.
Ms. Soley? Any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Next recommendation, the board approve a family and medical leave in accordance with policy file F11.4A for Tamika Gray, school bus operator in the Transportation Department, beginning April 29th through June 30th for medical.
Moved by Mr. Visor, second by Ms. Soley. Anyone else would like to discuss the recommendation? Mr. Visor, Ms. Soley? Any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
The board approve a family and medical leave in accordance with policy file F11.4A for Tanisha Narcan, school bus operator in the Transportation Department, beginning May 3rd through May 18th, 2022 for family.
Moved by Mr. Visor, second by Ms. Soley. Anyone else would like to discuss the recommendation? Mr. Visor, Ms. Soley? Any board member? Ms. Benoit?
I just want to ask the superintendent, are all of our students going to have bus rides to and from school?
Actually, I'm glad you asked the question. None of these have been at work this school year, so they're not currently active, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it.
Any other board member? Of that injection, hearing none, so ordered.
The board approve a family and medical in accordance with policy file F11.4A for Gene Martin, school bus operator, Transportation Department, beginning May 10th, 2022 through May 16th, 2022 for medical.
Moved by Mr. Visor, second by Ms. Soley. Anyone else would like to discuss that recommendation? Mr. Visor, Ms. Soley? Any board member? Are there any objection? Hearing none, so ordered.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, we've included for personnel actions for your perusal and information. It's included in your packet. The next agenda item, number 11, matter bearing upon litigation between Teddy Billiot, Mary Verdun, Lisa Narcan, Tasha Dardar, Jade Billiot, Bergeron, Lanny Dardar, Candace Hendon, Kelly Narcan, Loretta Verdun, Casey Dardar, Shanna Ray Dardar, and Joan Brunet versus the Terrebonne Parish School Board, the Terrebonne Parish School District, Philip Martin individually in his capacity as superintendent, Greg Harding individually in his official capacity as president, and of the Terrebonne Parish School Board, docket number 221 CV 01144, the United States District Court, Eastern District of Louisiana. Executive session will be held.
Entertain a
I
motion.
move to go to executive session.
Moved by Mr. Ford, second by Ms. Benoit. Anyone else like to discuss that motion? Mr. Ford, Ms. Benoit, any board member? That objection? Hearing none, so ordered.